How's it going, everybody? So we have to talk about Khamzat Chimaev today. This guy just had two fights in the UFC, 10 days apart, two submission victories, one in the second round by Darce choke, which is this fight here against John Phillips, and one in the first round, and he won that one by rear naked choke. So his style is very much like Khabib's style. It's very wrestling oriented, good top control, lots of vicious ground and pound, and submissions to go along with it. So from here, we're going to take a look at the first match that he had. He throws a kick there immediately into a double leg, well shot, well set up. He's done that actually in a couple of his previous fights too. I went back and watched some of the tape on him from earlier. That's actually a common strategy he uses right in the beginning of fights. So from here, we're going to talk about how somebody gets kept down against the fence. So Khamzat Chimaev actually ended up throwing this guy up against the fence intentionally. A lot of times when you take somebody down in the middle of the cage, which is kind of harder, it's easier to take somebody down against the fence. So if you manage to take somebody down in the middle of the cage, usually you keep them in the middle because they don't have the cage in order to wall walk and get back to their feet more easily, right? So if you're controlling someone in the center of the octagon, oftentimes it's more difficult for them to stand up. And so a lot of times people will spend a lot of energy on the bottom trying to walk themselves in the cage. But here, Khamzat actually pushes his opponent to the cage intentionally, uses his own energy to throw him over there because he has a good strategy for keeping somebody down while against the cage. And we'll talk about how that works. So the first thing is that this foot right here is shelved on Khamzat's hip right here. And you can see how Khamzat's keeping his knee up and in order to try to make sure that foot is remaining shelved. So this knee is really pinching forward here, trying to make sure that the foot stays exactly where it is, and then the hip shelf goes behind it, right? So as long as that foot stays up there, it's going to be very difficult for John Phillips to get up because it's basically like you're holding the bottom foot of your technical stand. So as you're working to tech stand, if somebody were to grab a hold of your bottom foot like this, even if you're going to plant this leg here to do your tech stand and you're going to try to pull yourself back that way, if you can't move this foot, you can't really tech stand, right? So the tech stand, even though he's not actually going to be tech standing all the way to his feet, he's going to be doing a partial tech stand in order to turtle. And then use the wall to walk himself back up to his feet. So it's going to be a kind of a two-step process technical stand going through the bottom turtle position. And in this situation, he's not going to be able to do that unless he can remove this foot. So he has to use a secondary strategy. So the strategy that John Phillips is going to use is he's going to take the shin and he's going to insert it in between Khamzat's hips and his hips, and then he's going to retract this foot out the back. And so he basically has to use another process because Khamzat is controlling that foot in the beginning, and that use of the second process, that shin insertion in order to get rid of the foot, is going to allow Khamzat to throw maybe 3 or 4 more punches than he would have had he not controlled the foot in the first place. And this is really important because all those seconds really add up a lot in MMA. And so we'll take a look at how that happens. He's going to take the shin in, pull the foot out, and then he's going to turtle up. He's going to get into the fence. And then now from here, a lot of times people are relatively protected from back control because the fence is a wall, right? And the if you have 2 hooks, 1 hook here and 1 hook here, this hook cannot come in on this side because the fence is there. It's very difficult to shove your foot in between the fence and the body. Sometimes you can force it in, but oftentimes your toes get caught up in the chain links, which is no fun. So a lot of times people just don't want to do that. And then this hook can come in, but it offers very minimal control. And it also doesn't offer the ability to do a rear naked choke very well because you're off angle, right? You can see that the angle of the neck and head is kind of here, whereas Khamzat's head is about there, and that's not an aligned angle for a rear naked choke, which you kind of need. So instead, he's going to do another strategy. So he's actually going to thread in his opposite foot and hip in. So he's going to thread in this foot right here. So he has a reverse hook right there, and his hips are really plastered in this way, trying to control. And he's going to have this arm around the waist right here, tucking in. And both of those things are going to make it difficult for his opponent to get up. And then the last thing that he's going to do is he's always going to be checking the far leg. So he's going to take a look right here at this leg right here. Anytime that his opponent starts getting up, he's going to put his hand right down there on that knee and pull it out from underneath him. So that's the main strategy from Khamzat, and it's really, really